In 3,
2,
1.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Bum 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 bum.
Welcome to the Wolfman Jack radio broadcast with your host, Stephen Falconer.
Thank you very much. Good morning from sunny Acapulco, Mexico, Anarchapulco 2024. I'm here with an amazing guy, Matt Presti. I just met him this week and went to one of his workshop lectures yesterday, and he just blew my mind. I got into many years ago when I was only fully retarded. I tried to read a book called The Secret of Light by Walter Russell, and I didn't understand a word of it. And so I put it down, and about a year later I read one called Atomic Suicide, written by him, but also his wife, I call her Leia, but I think it's Lau. She said, Walter, nobody understands what you're saying, so let a woman compliment you. And then later I was able to half understand the secrets of light. But by fluke, I happened to meet the man who is pretty much, I would say, the authority on the subject. And tell us about yourself and who you are and what you do and why you would be an authority on this subject.
Well, I don't like terms like authority or any authoritarian. Excuse me, let me get that out. Get those all out before we get into this. It is early, and we did have a fun time at open mic night last night.
True.
As far as an authority, I'm just somebody that loved the subject matter. You know, the shoulders of giants, and he is definitely a giant. It's, in fact, I would assert he's one of the biggest giants in the top 5 out there. Only because he not only brought a message called the Message of the Divine Iliad, which is expounded upon in all the work, but it is also the core of a science that he tried to deliver. And a man that produces 64 tons of art and sculpture, which I had to move, and it was backbreaking, which is why I know it's, you know, that's the other half of the message. There's a lot of people with messages out there, but not a lot that have evidence to show that their message works. And his art collection is that evidence.
Yeah, because he not only came up with this idea which shatters normal understanding of atomic physics, which is all theoretical, by the way.
Right.
I would
and
argue
one way,
garbage.
very much one way.
Yeah.
It's an entropic, death-dying, you know, exhalation-only universe. He gave the world of science a two-way motion universe, accounting for the inhalation of nature in the universe, which science denies even exists.
Right, which is also very much in line with much of, but not all of, ancient mysticism. There's some things of his that doesn't go that way, but quite a lot did. One of the things I really enjoyed was I watch a lot of near-death experience people, and they've always said, I went into this white light, but it's not white like the sign behind. Like, they can't describe it. They're looking for words to describe this white still light.
Right.
And I understand that as the white still magnetic
light of mind.
Yeah. And so when I saw your speech, can you tell? I mean, this is just amazing. It's really God. Really, it's God is magnetism, or the white magnetic light.
Right.
What is that? Tell us what that is.
Well, first off, there's no vibrations to it. It's an undivided condition, not polarized. It's stillness, as Beethoven would say. Where's God? When he was asked in his symphonies, he said, God is the silence between the notes.
Yeah.
It's the gaps between the frames in a 30 frame per second film, the black gaps of, you know, stillness.
Yeah.
And from this condition, all motion emerges into the universe. And when motion, as being it is temporal, which means it has a limited lifespan, the white light is eternal. It's
always
immortal,
there.
Always there.
Yeah.
And so things unfold from it by dividing into a polarized condition, which we also call the color spectrum.
Right.
Or we call it sound. You know, even sound lives and dies.
Well, this is like the word of God, really, and this is the understanding. To me, word and light, it's the same thing. Light is sound, it's all the same thing, really. But it's interesting what you say, how you cannot have color without white, like at the movie theaters, right? The screen
Correct.
is white, the projector's white,
The bulb
and then
is white.
Color comes, everything's white, and
And
yet
if it
there
wasn't
is.
white, it would not reflect. So if the screen was black, there'd be no reflection. You'd
Right.
be watching a black movie.
By the way, I don't want to get way off topic, but Beethoven in Morse code dot 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 dash is 5, and it was taken from an old Masonic gematria coding. So that's where he got it.
Really?
Dun, 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 dun.
Right,
That's
right.
dash 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 dot.
Yeah.
It was a coding for 5.
Well, that's pretty
Beethoven's
cool.
5th,
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, I actually
So-
wrote a song myself called the Fibonacci sequence, and I would do 1 1, 1 2, 1 2 3, 1 2 3 4 5. I made a rock song.
Oh
out
my
of it.
God, yeah, that was cool.
I got as high as 13, and then the time signatures became insane.
Right.
So I stopped at 13 and just repeated at that point.
Now, like the mystics, and pretty much, I know the people. The Catholic Church has rewritten the Old Testament and hidden its meanings, and the New Testament, but the teachings of all of the so-called Jesus character, it's talking about meditation. It's talking about still yourself, still your mind, still your body, still, and then you will go up into the realm of the head, or the headvin, instead of the heels down below, or
Right,
hell.
right.
And when I saw what you were saying, it's not black. You're trying to get into this white, or like when you take a breath in and then there's that pause, and then you breathe out and there's that pause. That is the white magnetic light of God, right in between, not the breath.
That's correct. Your breath hits a reversal point. So you can breathe into a point, and then you run into the plane of the cube, and you have to reverse direction. And
Right.
that's exactly how light works, too. It doesn't travel. It's repeated wavefield to wavefield. And if anybody knows my work or wants to get into more of it, there's videos I have on the mirror cube. You can find my stuff on YouTube, mattpresti.com. And the mirror cube shows us that light is reflected infinitely in all directions.
Yeah.
And it curves.
Light curves, yeah.
But it takes a straight surface called a cube, or invisible space geometry, which Dr. Russell called it, to create the effect of repeating light wavefield to wavefield.
Right.
So each respective thing informs every other thing in the universe of its existence.
Right.
And as Dr. Russell said, a young boy could throw a ball into the air, and the furthest star would adjust its orbit to keep perfect balance in this universe.
Right.
That's how precise it is.
Yeah. And you called it I asked if it was the monad, and you said no, it would have been the Atman.
Atman is like the source power.
Would that be the white still
Yes.
magnet? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like I've seen toroidal field mechanics theory, I guess, or models, where the white still light interacts with something they call the black dielectric plane in a toroidal magnet. If you had a magnet and you've got the dielectric plane through the center, and that the light, or electricity we could call it, comes out of the interaction of both of those. Actually, have you heard anything about this? Or
Well,
what do you think of that?
What we know about electricity, and seen it in the lab as well, is that, the toroid is an effect of twin opposing vortices. In other words, a polarized condition. Those twin opposing vortices meet, and what cannot integrate in and through each other is ejected at 90 degrees, which
Right.
creates the spherical form
Right.
of cells of people's bodies. But it's still hexagonal, too. Everything is six-sided: top, bottom, front, back, left, right.
Right.
All bodies.
Yeah.
So, even spheres have the same,
Yeah.
conditional, lawful form, according to, the cubic wavefield model.
And this all comes out of the cube, which is your symbolism for Saturn. Or if you unwrap the cube, it
It's
looks
a
like a
two-dimensional
Christian
cross,
cross.
right.
Yeah, it's a Christian
Why
cross.
did they unfold it from 3D to 2D and then hang God on it?
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's like, come on, guys, we got to fold it up, get it here, right?
Well, it's quite interesting because, as I showed in my lecture, in my talk the other day, if you look at the sun and blink your eyes, you see that cross unfold in front of you also, electromagnetically, or
Right.
whatever.
Yep.
What is the sun, do you think?
I think it's a ball of carbon.
You do?
Yeah, it's carbon, and that's carbon is the highest melting point. It's got in Walter's work, carbon is the God particle.
Yeah.
It's the perfect balance of male and female with the closed hole. Everything preceding carbon on his spiral graph of the elements is, and really there's only one element, and that is carbon.
Yeah.
Everything prior to carbon has an open hole, open center, and it's closing as it approaches carbon to become closed, which is the absolute fusion molecule, carbon. It's the closed hole.
Yeah.
And then once you go beyond carbon toward the higher octaves, especially into the ninth octave, the transuranium elements show that the ejection of the core, it reopens the hole and starts to die.
Right.
And that's why you have more rings around uranium than you do hydrogen.
Right.
They say there's so-called protons, neutrons, and electrons. Dewey B. Larson destroyed that whole nuclear atom theory.
Oh, it's bullshit. Yeah,
it's total shit.
It's all electric. Whatever this existence is,
Right.
it's electric.
And it's a model, but Russell made fun of the studded atom models. He said those made him chuckle because nothing in nature acts that way.
Well, what do you think about the idea that the atomic bombs aren't real? How do you have atomic fusion if they don't really understand, if the atom isn't what they think it is? Are they messing? Do you think they're
I don't
making
agree
the
with
explosion?
that. I think they can absolutely create those explosions. Yeah.
But the Russell model, it's not an atom with protons and electrons,
Right.
protons and neutrons, and then you got an electric neutral field.
Right.
These are more modalities
Right.
instead of little theoretical particles, right, flying around. Like we all saw those in the 50s, Atom Man or Atom Ant, and then they got like this picture of these weird things doing orbits around each other. That's not the Russell model.
No, it's rings and spheres, basically.
Yep.
Much like when you throw a stone into a pond.
Yeah, and you see the
rings are
ripples come
horizontal.
out. Yeah.
That's how you should think of elements.
And
Like
everything is vibrating. There's constant movement, right? But when there is no movement, that is the stillness. Is that what, or is there never? There must be a non-movement.
Well, the stillness centers and surrounds.
Right.
Centers and bounds.
Right.
All motion. So God basically, and again, I know people, listeners, God means multiple things in Russell science. There's many words for it.
Yeah.
Creator, stillness, silence, equilibrium, sexlessness.
Yeah.
Basically non-vibrational. But the centering and bounding is what the Creator does for motion. That's why our breath is bound.
Right.
We meet God at the highest point of our inhalation, and we have to reverse direction where we meet God again at our lowest point of exhalation, which reverses direction.
And as you said, the heartbeat, too.
The heartbeat
you've got
is...
boom, boom, but then you've got that
reversal.
space between that, too.
Correct. You've got the silence between the sound, which is where music comes from.
Right.
The 1-2 is the original tempo, and then it's 1-2-3 after that. That's the waltz, and then it's 1-2-3-4. Come on, feel the noise. Right. Yeah,
exactly.
That's 4-4. So, and then you get into jazz, which is like 16ths and 30-seconds.
And Russell didn't like that.
He did not like jazz. He was like a grumpy old dad. Turn that shit down.
Let's do the jig, baby.
Right.
Well, people don't realize that, when you talk about the Word of God, when you make any sound or speak, it sounds to you that it's a sound, but really, if you break it down in a computer like audio engineers, it's really, if you make a noise, it's not really going, it's going, so fast you don't hear the stops. But because if they weren't there, you wouldn't hear anything.
Right.
Everything,
the
rest is what makes the sound. Less is more, as they say in pop music.
If you were to listen to music without silence in between the notes, it would be horrific.
That's what we call over-compressed music this day. I think that's why modern music sounds so bad. I have to get out of the club because it's so compressed. They have taken out literally most of the rest.
Yeah.
Which is God.
Right. And two, when you get into faster and faster vibrations, like you split the rhythm so much that you get into 30 seconds and 64ths.
Right.
That's like a really high-pitched frequency ringing in your ears. Nobody likes that.
Right.
Yet the New Age advises we all raise our vibrations.
Now, here's one of the things that interested me which
is antithetical to Russell science.
True. Yeah, I mentioned something I found in the Masonic teachings that low vibrating light is matter and high vibrating light is spirit. But in you were saying yesterday really that the lower the vibration is the closer to God. Actually, that matter. Right. So do you think that's reversed? That's incorrect. The Russell model disagrees with what I was showing people.
Because inversion is Satan's signature.
Yeah.
The satanic model is
Yeah.
inversion. So you think of a high vibration, an earthquake is a high vibration.
Yeah.
A fever is a high vibration.
The sun.
Ultraviolet light. Any white people out there who laid too long in the sun know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Ultraviolet light can really hurt you
Yeah.
if you get too much. I've had massive sunburns, so I'm not lying here. It's repeatable, demonstratable.
It's interesting because, though, without the sun, which is obviously a high vibrating something, it's carbon, let's call it in your model, we'd be dead without it, though. Like,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and the sun has been worshipped by almost every culture
Right.
since we know about.
And Walter said that all idea comes from the sun, that we are all projections from the sun. If there was no sun, there'd be no projection,
Right.
no realm. If you
Where
will.
does the moon fit in his model?
It's a child of the earth. It was
Yes.
born out of the earth. There's writings that exist on this planet that talk of a time before there was a moon.
Oh, yeah, the pre-Celanese people.
Right, and that the
Many
earth
cultures,
that
yeah.
the earth rumbled and a ring was ejected at the equator, which wound up to become the moon.
Right. Okay.
So that's
She's magnetism. The moon. Have you ever done the laser test? Did you know moonlight is about 1.5 degrees Celsius colder than the shadow?
Mm-hmm.
We did it too.
Yeah.
So to me, that cannot be sunlight reflecting off the moon, or it should be radiative and hotter.
I don't think it would be. Personally.
How could it be colder?
Because it's a reflection.
So it's colder than no light at all. Do you understand? I mean, if you're in the tree in the night in a full moon, it's colder there by 1.5 degrees than if you hit the ground with the laser tester where the moonlight is hitting the ground.
For the same reason you can breathe in cold air and exhale heat.
Right.
It's the
So
same thing.
there are theories that the
reverse.
moon is plasma or even holographic. But so you think that's carbon as well? What do you think the moon
I've
is?
seen close-up pictures of the moon. My cousin's an amateur astronomer,
Yeah.
and I've seen extremely detailed close-ups of the moon, and the craters are undeniable.
Yeah.
It's not a mirage. I've seen.
I don't think
I don't
think they
think
are
it
either.
is.
There
Right.
are theories that if it's a plasma moon, they were like you see it when you do electric tests. You can get plasma bubbles almost, kind of like a geyser down
Right.
here. Is that sort of an after effect
Yeah.
of a geyser,
Yeah.
which is pretty fascinating. One of the things I liked, they have the Roman Catholic Church, Church of England, later the Irish Catholic Church. It's very clear they took out the idea of reincarnation, and it was most certainly in the ancient teachings. I think they all believed in such a thing. And you mentioned that. Could you talk about that yesterday? And you even mentioned maybe a potential cycle for how long in this time.
And nobody knows this for sure, but
Yeah.
I believe it was in one of the Russells in the archives. And there's literally at least hundreds of thousands of letters and papers from very important people as well, prestigious people, Tesla, Einstein, presidents, major Thomas Watson, major corporate people, business people of that age. And in one of them, they were expounding about how long the soul rests in the spirit before it incarnates again.
Right.
And they averaged, if you live 80 years, you're likely to rest around 80 years before you emerge from that stillness again into a new body.
What if you were like let's say a baby who died, and have a vaccine sitting?
Oh, man.
A sudden accidental infant death for no reason. Let's say you're only here, 5 months. What
my
would happen,
guess,
you reckon?
they didn't go into great detail on that.
Yeah.
They just asserted that reincarnation is also repetition, and that nature is repetitive.
Hopefully, you wouldn't repeat dying at one
And
month
why
old.
why would we have separateness from nature when nature informs us of everything? All of our knowledge of sciences, and all of it comes from nature.
Yeah.
Nature is the only teacher. There need be no other, according to Russell's. And that's where the great poets draw their inspiration, and the great painters and sculptors, and nature is the.
I have to argue because I'm a music teacher, so I'm gonna lose my job if you tell my kids they can learn guitar from nature.
Well,
they can, because the music
the point
scale
being
is
that-
the octave, the harmonic octave.
Yeah.
So there you go.
The point being that we are nature,
Right.
And to think that we're not is Descartian.
Yeah.
Or Descartian, you could say. It's the mind-body divide.
Sorry, I'm having we didn't have time for breakfast. We got up early, so I'm having a Mexican breakfast here. La cerveza.
There you go.
Yeah. And I find that fascinating. the idea of all the sevens, and the seven on your way to the octave. You got the 7 music note scales of the major scales, and then you've got the 5s.
Right, and 9 octaves on a piano.
Right, and then you've got all the, the 7 systems of the body, the 7 colors of the rainbow, and then the alchemical 7 days of the week, 7 alchemical metals. We won't call them. It's different than real metal.
Right.
And then you've always got these 12s in wave mechanics. This whole place is made of 7s and 12s. Where would the 12s fit in Russellian's?
Well,
is there such a thing as Russellian? Did I make that up, or what do you call it?
Yeah, I don't like the term because it's like Raelian or something.
Oh, by the way, you are the president of the...
I was.
Or what were...
For 7 years.
Yeah, just so people know what you did. It was the Walter Russell
Foundation. Formerly, and since 48, it's been known as, or since 57 actually, it's been known as the University of Science and Philosophy.
I'll just call you El Presidente.
Well, I'm El Chairmanato.
El Terminato.
El Chairman Nato. But
yeah,
so
just so people know you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a great organization. They founded it in 48. The central base was at Swannanoa, which is a 52-room Medici palace built between 1910 and 12 by 300 artisans. So yes, 52-room marble palaces can be built in 2 years if you've got the right kind of artisans doing the building.
Well, man, when you look at the old world stuff, people are calling Tartaria. It's clear that we are pretty much retarded compared to what they were doing in the past.
And to think that we are incapable of that, I think, is a major error. Because I watched the films of them building the arch, and in 100 years, if people look at the arch and it's all strip malls, they're going to go, some ancient civilization built that. My point is, how can stupid people come along and overthrow an advanced race? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, they're doing a good job of dumbing us down. I'll say that for sure. So I mean, it could be that.
Yeah, our character is a civilization. Civilization is the sum total of all man's thinking. And as our character lowers, which is why the university was established, was to carry on the mission of the Twilight Club, which were a lot of luminaries, Mark Twain, Herbert Spencer, Edwin Markham, Ralph Waldo Emerson, all came together in the early 1870s to try to put emphasis on character building, because Spencer, a renowned British philosopher, was worried that man was losing his soul in the cogs of industry, becoming a cog in the wheels of industry. And so they had to focus on character building, and all these really great organizations began as an outcropping of that. Right. For instance, the Fraternal Order of Eagles. You have I'm sorry, my mind's kind of
that's all right.
running on flames here.
It's early morning, man. You've been up all night.
Rotary.
Oh, the Rotary Club.
Columbus
Knights Columbus.
All this stuff was established. Boy Scouts, Dan
Cub
Beard.
Scout. I was going to say Cub Scouts.
He brought the Boy Scouts,
Eagle Scouts,
and the Cub Scouts. Were an idea and offshoot out of that.
They call them the Pedo Scouts now, but
right. And unfortunately, things get taken over.
Yeah.
The road to hell is always paved with good intentions, but
absolutely,
Terrence McKenna said, it's never paved with clarity.
Right. Yeah,
we need to get our clarity back. And we need to start. Also, I think believing in ourselves and knowing ourselves. The hell with belief.
That's the main thing, because a lot of this New Agers, I don't like to put labels on the spiritual people. Everyone, they're trying to get out of here. They're like, I want to get out of here, and I'm like, they don't understand that here is it. The physical is just as equally a part as the spiritual.
Right.
In the Gnostic Irish teachings, the spirit and the soul come down together through the wandering stars or planets. They get vested these characteristics, and then the soul itself, it dissipates in physical form.
Right.
And the idea is to build up spirit without the soul in the way. And everyone's trying to get rid of their mind and ego, like the Eastern.
Right.
Your mind and ego, you don't get rid of it. You're like, no, that's what is. That mind is God. Yeah. It's what you're using to rebuild the spirit better.
Right.
Yeah. What's your idea? And do we agree on that?
Yeah. The 1960s saw a lot of CIA insertion of revolution I mean, the Beatles wrote the song
Right.
Revolution.
Oh, that's all CIA. All the
it's
music
Tavistock.
industry. Total Tavistock.
There's 9/11 wasn't an inside job; it was an inside-outside job. I mean, we have a worldwide intelligence agency that acts like it's not in concert,
Right.
for obvious reasons. But and sometimes they aren't, but sometimes they are. But for the most part, that whole thing basically. It's
them. Yeah, I think it's them trying to keep us locked in the idea that we are just a meat suit. They don't want us to know the other part.
Yeah.
One of the questions. Go ahead. Yeah.
To answer your question, it
Yeah.
came to me again.
Sorry.
We're firing on half of a cylinder.
I know.
here.
Yeah. You don't want the early.
That was a really good
podcast.
time last night, getting the jam out. It was unexpected. I didn't think I'd be playing music in Acapulco, but it was fun.
Awesome.
As far as academicians of the 60s and their psychedelic drug use, their need for India and traveling to India to sit with the gurus, and the guru worship began, and that was
Yeah.
really a reseeding of the previous New Age movement, which was called the New Thought movement, which was Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley and all that horse shit, and Alice Bailey,
Yeah.
and Walter. He didn't like the spiritualism movement, and my documentary Dispelling Dimensional Madness rips that all apart, but it also lays out where the fourth dimension idea comes from, how it was a mathematical invention
Right.
from early academia.
Tell people where to say it again, and then tell them where to find that documentary.
It's Dispelling Dimensional Madness, and it basically destroys through their own words. I use Neil deGrasse Tyson's own words to show that he contradicts himself on the whole idea of this.
Right.
And so he falls on his own sword just by what he says. I didn't even have to say anything.
Is
If you
there
catch
any
it, you
room
catch
for
it.
is there any room for any of the Eastern mystic stuff?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
does Russell, is it like
Yeah.
it's all in or all out with that kind of thing?
Well, in regards to academia, drug use, and the Eastern and the guru worship, that's when you started to hear you need to get rid of your ego.
Right, which is bullshit. Well, the only one I heard who said that's a joke is Alan Watts. He said that's a joke. You can't get rid of it, and that's the whole joke.
Well, let's break the word down. Ego, the etymological foundations of the word ego means in Latin self.
Self, yeah.
So
It's
when
the same thing.
If you look at the psychoanalysts of the 20th century, Freud, like him or not, Jung, massive powerhouse.
Right.
Jung is telling us that the self is the syncretism between the superego and the id. It's
Right.
God is the self.
Right.
So when he was asked, "Do you believe in God?" in that famous interview, and he says, "God, believe? No, I know."
I know, 'cause
I
that's
know.
the ego. That's the self.
Right.
Yeah.
The self is the creator to
Right.
the degree that you realize it is, and to that degree, it's directly proportional. That's why certain people can create intense amounts of work, prodigious amounts of work,
Yeah.
because they're more in touch with that power source that's within them.
Right.
And that's the secret teaching of all ages.
What I wanted to
Truly.
ask you this, because a lot of people, everyone, is actually this. In my opinion, the trouble with this world is everyone's fixated on death or afraid of it.
Yeah.
Now,
We worship the death half of the wave.
well,
which is
we'll get into this.
exhalation
This
only.
is the part. This is where you blew my freaking mind away. But I'll get into that. So remind me.
It's like worshiping poop.
I mean, yeah. But
what about the food, guys? Come on.
So the white it's still magnetic light. People need to understand that magnetism is still. It's not the moving
and it's
part.
omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient.
Yeah,
it's the light of mind, symbolized by the all famous light bulb over the head.
It's everything, everywhere, infinite.
Right.
And,
it's in and through every
all
one
potential,
of every
right?
corpuscle and cell of matter. It centers the DNA spiral. It bounds it. Everything is bounded and centered by this light. It's omnipresent. You couldn't move your little finger without that light powering
Now,
you.
so when you have this idea of self, when you die, and you say, well, then you'd go up, and if you've made it to 80 years, you might be, again, we said this is hypothetical, by the way, so just people, we're not saying we can prove any of this, we're saying this, we're talking concepts.
Right.
And you say, you go rest up there, but you say there can't be a you without time and space. In a one non-moving stillness, there would be nothing to identify a differential between you and someone else. So is it true, is it almost like people say, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to me, because you and I are both actually the one God, and when we're down here, you're you and I'm me.
In La Cave.
Right?
right, is I am another you.
I don't even see in Lakesh the same, because I see
Right.
that as one level down. I see in Lakesh meaning you and I are the same or equal. I see it like I'm talking to me. And so why would I have an argument with myself? You know, in other words, like imagine like, fucking we're going to kill the Rothschilds and Bill Gates. And what if it's like, I'm the Rothschilds, I'm Bill Gates.
Right.
I'm, Attila the Hun.
Right.
Well, is that what you think's going on? And down here, not down here, but he comes from where we come from, right?
Right. Well, we all emerge from that light.
Yeah.
It's just some of us acknowledge it. Some acknowledge it but don't know what it is.
Right.
Some acknowledge it and know what it is
Yeah.
and use it. And then some know what it is and use it such to a degree that we have to call those people geniuses.
Right, yeah.
They have an unstoppable power inside of them that causes
Yeah.
them to become so productive that they...
But let's say you died, let's make me, because words are. Let's say Rockefeller died. Words have power. We don't want to talk about
Well,
that.
does he run around after death, or does
We
he
can
become
choose.
still,
He gets hit by a train naked while
Okay.
he's having it with a goat head. He goes flying through the air and then splits into a million pieces into a tree. Is there a Rockefeller up there in the still white magnetic light, if waiting, another 90?
Well,
they live to 110, these elites, so he gets 110 rest.
See, all bodies are powered by the same source.
Right.
All of them. It doesn't matter what body it is.
But the
a
spirit,
helicopter.
would you be able to differentiate of a
tree.
Rockefeller spirit in the white instead of ours? Or
Well, it's not so much
it's not
about,
like that.
the differentiation is in humanity. There's, in my documentary to come in the next year or so, I have to really do some intense research on it. It's called Free Will and Evil.
Yeah.
And the question is, to answer your question, I'd say, you have the option in a lifetime to progress upward toward, your mountaintop of
Yeah.
becoming, or you can progress backwards back to the blackness of your primal jungle.
Yeah.
And so when Rockefeller returns to the light and he comes back, he'll be very much degressed in his, and probably, and I can't say for sure, but I would think, based on the actions of a person, because you can look at reincarnation and there's many stories of it, but when you find a incredible musician who's only 2 or 3 years old and he's out shredding Steve Vai on a fucking acoustic guitar,
And the piano players, because how
drummers,
we're
little
musicians,
kids.
like you don't.
Yeah.
You need so much motor skill practice and scale practice to get that kind of chord. These kids sit on a piano and they're ripping off Tchaikovsky and shit and rock.
And that's again,
it's
where genius seed comes from, is the realization of skill sets. It's not a direct remembrance, because when we pass away, the Russells called it unfolding from the light and refolding.
Yeah.
Just like nature unfolds a flower and then refolds back into the bud.
Right.
It's the same concept. It's not. There's no laws for the upper and different laws for the lower. It's one common existence in terms of how creation works, one common explanation, I should say.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, is reincarnation is a staple of nature. The Russells preferred to call it repetition, because that nature is repetitive. It repeats.
Right. Now, he got this, I found this fascinating because I've done many films on the mass vaccination program right after the soldiers came back, which was called the Black Death, or the Spanish flu, we call it, and everything. He would have been that age when he got this Black Death.
14.
They've axed his ass. This would have been about, when was he born? 1902?
1871, May 19th, and he died on his birthday, May 19th, 1963.
Right. And when did he have this death experience where he dies of the Black Death?
14 years of age, Black Plague. It's basically the throat becomes black, blackened, and he said his was as black as a case knife.
Right.
Just imagine that.
Then he dies, right?
And he dies, and the mother and father begin weeping, and he could see this, and he could also see.
So he's done like an out-of-body kind of
Correct. There's two
thing?
doctors there, that pronounce him dead. And then he says, God took me up to a high mountaintop. Now, what that means, of course, it's figurative. The mountaintop is the light of the mind. And he goes into that light, and then he's able to reproject a previous healthy version of himself, which through the light and the memory of all motions is in the inert gases.
Right.
And that's interesting, because that tied together that the Akashic substance is the inert gases of the ancient world, right? And so all memory and recorded motion is in that. So when you can tap into your mind Dispenza, Joe Dispenza, I think, wasn't he the one with the back injury?
Oh, well, I've read about 7 or 8 of these cases where
Yeah.
people died of stage 4 cancer riddled, and they wake up
Yep.
from this death
So
experience, and
you're
there's nothing wrong with them at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're projecting that previous healthy version through the light of the, through the inert gases, which are the master keys of the elements, the master
do you
tones.
think the ether is that, or do you believe in the ether?
No,
you don't.
The ether's been debunked. There are space gases that precede hydrogen, but that previous version of healthiness is what is reprojected when he sat up in bed all of a sudden, came back to life.
Yeah.
The doctors were amazed. The parents began to weep. He said he felt fine and he could have gotten up, but because the parents had started to weep and were freaked out, it made him have to recover for 6 months. But the doctors looked in his throat and it was completely pink. All the black, all the black strep and all that was gone.
Yeah.
100% healed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And there is a big connection to the mind-body or body-mind.
Yeah.
Again, this is proof, when people are like, your body is nothing. No, there is ample scientific evidence that you can heal the mind and it will heal a body thing, or you can heal the body and it will correct the mind deficiency, whether you use minerals or whether you use mind thought or meditation or grapes, what doesn't matter.
Because one could say basically that mind precedes matter. And the proof for that
I would say mind is the source of everything.
Correct.
All matter.
Right.
Mind is everything.
And if you need
mind is
evidence,
magnetism, and magnetism is white light of God.
Right.
White light of
And
God.
if you need evidence, science people out there who are going, oh, that's bullshit. I offer you Exhibit A. Anything man-made was first the idea in the mind of a human.
Yeah.
And with your 2 strong arms, folks, these 2 things, without a cell phone, you build anything you're looking at was built by the hands of a human being.
I mean, what's funny, Allah, Allah, sorry if you're, listening and you're into that thing, but when you stand like the Vitruvius man, whatever his name is, arm, leg, arm, head. Allah.
Right.
ALLAH. And that's right. Everything that's ever been done. Now, there's these new age people. I have a vision board and I am manifesting a taco appears on the table right now. Well, you can write all the sigils you want about a taco appearing unless you do something to make
exactly.
There's the I'm not making fun of Jewish people. I like them, but there's the joke, the rabbi wants to win the lotto and he keeps praying and praying to win the lotto, and he never wins the lotto, and so he denounces God and says, God, you have forsaken me. You don't believe after all I've done. And the clouds boom open, and the voice comes down and says, Shlomo, you need to buy a frickin' lottery ticket.
That's exactly right. Wishful thinking gets you nowhere. The Russells were both adamant that, we live in a thinking, basically it's the still universe of mind. When it's thought into wave motion,
right,
you must also do one critical thing: act.
Yeah.
You can pray to God for 85 years of your life to be a great concert pianist,
right? But you don't practice.
And then you can sit down. So you can pray, and you can sit down on that piano and not play a note.
Right, yeah.
You have to woodshed. You have to move. You have to act. And that's why I never liked The Secret movie. It seemed to be like a kind of a con without action, nothing.
Oh, that thing made a ton of cash.
Oh, I know. It was a cash cow.
Well, the cool thing about it, because I don't like to discredit everything without giving credit, it did at least get people open to this idea that this kind of thing is going on.
Right,
They just didn't give them the actual secret.
But what it did was it created the pattern, as you said, of I'm going to manifest a sprig of figs, and then it's never there. Or it's just like,
and all you got is unfinished fig Newtons,
right? Just go. It's like Leo Russell. There's a guy who worked for the university, and he was, trying to bend a spoon with his mind.
Oh yeah.
And she comes down for tea, right? She's in the kitchen, and he's sitting there at the table looking at the spoon, trying to bend it. And she's walking around, she does her thing, notices what he's doing, and on her way out of the kitchen, she goes, so-and-so, if you just bent the spoon with your hands, it would be a lot faster.
It would be a lot quicker, man. It's probably a lot
She goes,
more
you might bend it in about 70 or 80 years.
Yeah.
But you could do it a lot quicker if you bend it with your head.
Well, those guys what was his name? Yuri Geller or Rory Geller. He was bending it, and then there was the guy who could make the phone book pages flip, and then a physicist came out and put baby powder on it. He said, you're blowing on it softly through your breath, so he put baby powder all over it in a live TV show.
Yeah.
And said, let me
Caught him.
flip the... Oh, yeah, he flipped the page.
Right.
Powder.
And I'm not saying you can't do this stuff.
No,
but
people can do telekinesis. Definitely.
She was just being funny because, she felt that it would just be easier if you fucking bent the thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, there you can. I totally believe there are super. You can
powers.
do telekinesis. It's all real. But
we're on the way to that, and
you reckon?
The evidence for it is that we've built a communications network around the world. I can text somebody in Japan, and it gets to them in seconds. And so we're building through, obviously, a materialistic. It's always material first.
Yeah.
Right? That's what connects us. And it's all it is really training wheels for learning to connect mind to mind.
What we got, I think 15 minutes left till Patrick Henningson's on. What I wanted to get into, what you really, really drove home to me yesterday in your workshop.
And thanks for coming to that.
Oh, thanks for letting me pop in too.
Yeah,
I wrote you and asked you, could I pop in? But I don't think we're getting each other's messages.
Yeah,
but, So you're saying everything our technology is built on, our weapons, our everything, our whole science or our whole understanding is based on the death side, the Big Bang. The universe explodes and it's just infinitely fucking dying, and one day it's going to die. You're saying there's the inhalation, but we're on the our whole thing is based on only exhalation exists, and not
which is called classically called entropy
or dying.
Right. There's nothing in
decay.
There's nothing in the Big Bang theory that accounts for centropy. And
how did it get there?
Right. That's the big missing link, which means only one half of a seesaw. Right.
Just a sea.
Can you imagine two people sitting on the same side of a seesaw and trying to explain the universe?
Yeah.
If one of them goes to the other side, then you start to have a real explanation. Like Newton, he saw the apple fell on his head, right?
Yeah.
Well, he said that must be an inward pulling force, and he called it gravity. But he never explained how the fucking apple got up the opposite.
How the tree grew up there.
Yeah,
how the fuck did it get up there in the air? Yeah.
And Walter called that out. He said, until you explain that, your theory's only half right.
How the apple get up there?
And so he said gravity was basically stillness.
Right.
It's not an inward pulling force. And then you have W.C. Wright who says it's a push force, which is a whole different... I would believe that before I'd believe just the inward pulling. But it really controls the push and pull.
Right.
That's what it does. It doesn't move. And you can locate God by the motion that moves around the shaft of gravity. A door jamb is a shaft of gravity. That's where the power is. It's not in the opening and closing of the door. And if you want to start to notice where God is as an exercise, or the creator, or the force, as whatever you'd like to call it, the equilibrium, the fulcrum, Dr. Russell liked to call it, look for what doesn't move.
Right, yeah.
And then you'll start to notice. And we also have a still center in us that does not move. And I can do the marionette. My mind is making me...
Yeah, this is your left, right.
Correct.
These are hemispheres of each. All animals have they're a split hemisphere.
Yeah, doubly charged.
Yeah,
it's two hemispheres.
Yeah,
all bodies.
And in the middle is what we could call the dielectric plane, or
in a magnet, it's called the block wall.
Right.
And when you use the magnetic green paper and hold it over the magnet, and you see the white. That's the location of God.
Right.
You're seeing the white light.
The white light, yeah.
And in a circular magnet, it'd be on the outside and on the inside ring.
Right.
But that's the location of God, and it's provable in the laboratory.
Yeah. I also liked what you were saying about how everything comes in duality and out one. Like when you breathe through your nose, 2 nostrils in.
Yeah, 2 in, 1 out.
The
2 become 1.
Yeah. 2 and 1, yeah.
Which is 3.
Yeah.
And there's your Holy Trinity.
Right.
So I call it
unless
a triality.
You're eating, because that's 1 in and then you shit 1 out, right?
Right.
There's your monopole.
Yeah. That's why I like to refer to my existence, myself personally, and I'm as far as I know, I coined this term, but it might have been coined way before, but coined it for the use of the Russell teachings, which is the word triality. It's the awareness of the fulcrum within you, which is your power source. And
because that's a good... Sorry to interrupt you. Like, everyone, Hermeticism is... people think it's duality, like there's this positive, negative, but there is this thing in the middle of both that never gets acknowledged in any of these teachings. It's a trinity.
Right. And the main problem people have, I think, in this world is that their bodies, in our teens, 20s, 30s, you're on the hedonistic side of life, the materialist side of life. You're, that looks humpable, things like that, And then you start to get older, but basically your body's in control of your mind.
Yeah.
And when you get older and the wisdom starts to come and you study and you get into your vocation and you're on that path, the hero's journey, whatever you'd like to call it, when you come to the narrow path, or as the Christ would say, the kingdom of heaven is within
you, yeah,
not out there.
Right.
And so when you get behind the motion of your body, and this is what I refer to being the fulcrum.
Yeah.
And you can only be close to the fulcrum. You can never be totally the fulcrum, or you'll be in an illumination experience and probably check out.
Right.
In fact, I think a lot of spontaneous combustions of people
Yeah.
were too much of the white light, and it went.
They had their just fucking bang, man. Yeah.
But you can be close to it, and as David Avocado Wolf said so brilliantly the other day when he was referencing Automan and Lucifer by Steiner, is that if you're on one side or the other, it's like a car on a highway that's smashing against the guardrail
Right.
and sparks flying.
And you keep staying
So,
on
but if
it.
you get right on that double line, in the middle is that blank.
Yeah.
Right? Between, you stay on as close to center as you can.
To the middle
Any
path.
situations that happen in life, you're able to right yourself quicker.
Well, they
than
say
being
that.
out
Just
there
they
on
always
the-
say stay centered. Try to stay focused,
Right.
stay centered. So they're focal.
Right. And so the materialistic externalist lives on the seesaw,
Right.
where the genius goes inward and then commands the seesaw.
Yes.
And the good and the bad and all the duality is at your command. Life, death in your left hand, life in your right.
Right.
And you can command both.
Right.
And you can freeze your thoughts into form purposefully.
Right. Well, I think like it's interesting. Yeah, like because we become so distracted, and I like the word distraction. Traction means you're in control.
Right.
The car's got tires. We got traction. We can drive down the winter road. Distraction means we're all over the fucking road,
Right.
Because we don't know this. We're sliding all over.
And so people
Can't stay focused.
Yeah, exactly.
And the mind, and that's people like get rid of your mind and your ego, and you're like. No, just as you said, when you're young, you're in all the what people call the lower chakra or the carnal desires. You want. I'm a fucking glutton. I'm 52. I still in the carnal desires.
I'm 52 as well.
Yeah. So
Together we're 104.
but like Paracelsus said, know that the philosopher has power over the stars and not the stars over him or her. They didn't say her back then,
Right.
but I think he meant really like paying attention. Astrology really like. The only thing that can get you out of those lower chakras is your mind being consciously paying attention and focused that there is a higher spiritual way of being to try to attain.
Right.
You're not just going to like be walking around like you say, humping everything that moves and da-da-da-da-da. And if you didn't know that there was another way of being that was way more satisfying, because you never get satisfied by the next drink, the next hit, the next day. You need the mind to know that. You're not just going to one day have it, like you said, the light, the the white still light.
The light bulb symbolized by the light bulb.
But the light bulb don't go on unless you there is one to go on. It's not just going to magically turn on one day unless you have one of those near-death experiences.
Sure.
Right.
And people often ask me, what do you recommend as a best practice to get into that light or close to it or become more aware of it? I'd say moment-to-moment recognition that it's there, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the best way to get there is when you get inspired. And this is really important, people. Listen, when you get inspired, don't pick up your phone, don't turn the TV on, don't go to InfoWars, don't go to the coffee shop.
The fucking frogs are gay, man. The interdimensional space aliens are making the gay frogs.
Follow your inspiration.
Yeah.
And the more you follow it and hold the thought that inspired you, and we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, which one are you going to hold?
Right.
Hold that thought, keep following it, build the body for your thought, and behold, it stands before you, and you're becoming a creator. It doesn't matter if it's cooking a food dish or carving wood, gardening, hold the thought. And many people do this already. But it's just a good reminder that the closer you can get to the light is through following your inspiration. And I love the N words, inspiration.
Yeah, inspiration.
Yeah, or in the spiral.
As you said, this whole society is based on exhalation, but
Right.
the inhale is the other side, the yin and yang.
And what's the opposite of inspiration? Expiration.
Expiration, or for in Mexico, it's perspiration.
Yep. And who was it, Edison, that said genius is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration?
That's right. Yeah. But
if you follow that 1%,
he worked for the deodorant companies.
Sure,
I'm sure of it.
sure.
Conspiracy.
Yeah. It was all set up.
That dude was getting paid off for sure. No, but it's important what you're saying. It's really important.
Right.
Now, you're not into this. How does conscious co-creators fit in with this Russell model, or is it your own creator, the sole creator in your reality, or how do you?
Well, Leo wrote a book called "God Will Work with You, but Not for You."
Right.
And so you can fill in the blank. Put a blank under the word work. God will blank with you, but not for you.
Right.
Any action, word, verb will fit in there.
Right.
He'll kill for you, or with you, but not for you. But
he'll
he'll carve a David with you, but not for you.
Right.
I mean, he'll create war with you, but not for you. But basically, what Russell says is, if a man killeth by the sword, he shall also be killed by it.
Yeah.
Because nature, not man, holds the right to the reaction.
Right.
And that's what these elite don't understand. What's happening is the reaction. As Patrick said last night, he was talking about the focus of reaction. He said he looks for reaction. What is the reaction?
Right.
Well, the reaction is people are rising up. Farmers are blocking roads in all European countries.
Yeah.
People are sick and tired of it. Is the reaction. That's nature going,
Right.
You violated the universal law. And in the Russell science, there's one law, the law of balance.
Right.
And to the degree that you violate that law is to the degree it will break you.
Well, that's why it always comes around. Like it is all waves and cycles. Even a Rockefeller going down to the poo pile in the darkest of the black must eventually come up at some point later.
Right.
Maybe might be fucking for all you know, like Gandhi in 1,000 years from now or something like
Every
that.
mystic was once a tyrant.
Yeah, and every tyrant.
But they remember and they come back to us to tell us, the Christ, he took Thomas in the cave in the Gospel of Thomas and he whispered, what I'm about to tell you, keep it to yourself because the other guys aren't going to understand over here. You know what I'm saying? But I was the Buddha 500 years ago and I've come back to you now.
Yeah, exactly. This guy.
That's why they removed that book because the priesthood said, reincarnation, take that out.
Well, of course they don't want to because you got the Pope's the word of God and he's the only one who can save you. And oh, by the way, Leo X, he was a Medici.
Yeah.
You could pay for indulgences. You could actually, instead of asking God to forgive you, you could just pay money and sin all you want, which caused the whole fucking Protestant and Calvinist revolution. They're like, you can't do that.
And the Illuminati movement basically believes that they can get to it's very spiritual to sin.
Yeah,
they have no regard for it.
Right.
So to them,
sin means
sinning,
deficiency. It just means without. Chili sin carne means there's no meat in there.
Or from the Scottish in archery, it means missing the mark.
Miss the mark.
Right.
You're missing.
But ultimately, you just mentioned the Pope Pius XII.
Yeah.
When Russell introduced his Universal One, which all came from a divine illumination in 1921, his command was to give a new science to the world of man. Released in 1926, his Universal One book, 1,000 copies, 300 went to prominent universities, and 700 went to prominent scientists.
Yeah.
And when the Pope got a copy, because you know how they do,
got the Pope.
he got informed, and he sent Russell a note. The Catholic Church said, if you try to reprint this book, the Pope will issue a decree against you. And you'd never work anywhere in the world again if the Pope did that.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be ostracized. No income, no nothing.
What are you talking about? I thought the Jews were
and it was a scary thing for Russell, so he never reprinted the Universal One.
Really?
It is widely available, philosophy.org. Order through there if you guys can, because that helps support the Russell legacy. But it would be just 5 short years later that a two-way motion universe from Walter Russell is presented to the world of science. 5 years later, out comes Georges Monsignor Lemaitre, the Jesuit priest.
Of course,
in 1931, he releases an exhalation-only universe model called the Big Wank.
The Big Wank. The Big Bang Myself.
And it's been debunked. There's so many guys out there doing great work on that. Stephen Crothers, Jason Verbelli.
Yeah.
You know, all kinds of guys are just debunking the shit every day. And Russell said, with the way current science is, the moon might as well be made of green cheese because most of it has no existence. There's no such thing as a quantum packet of energy. It's a travesty of nature. And his basic work is very hermetic. It aligns perfectly with the 7 laws, excepting one law which says God is a very high vibration.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Stephen Hawking? This is total. Have you ever seen the old videos where they've got this blonde translator before he got the speaking spell to talk for him? Have you seen this? He's sitting there going, and then the guy next to him saying, he says the universe is da-da-da-da-da. Like, he's not saying that. You could never even understand what Hawking would say. He's like,
right.
And this guy is just putting these elaborate sentences. You're like, there was a great one. This guy made a Stephen Hawking stand-up. He says, my wife is a terrible cook. I mean, really, how hard is it to choose someone's food for them?
Right. See, I think personally they just wheel a guy out on the stage, and somebody in the production on the ClearCom goes, "All right, roll track 1. I am Stephen Hawking."
It is. I think that robot Sophia, you know, that AI robot.
Yeah.
It's the Wizard of Oz. I think there's a guy sitting in the van just with like a microphone coming through. Like,
dude, the day the world ended is when I heard that Stephen Hawking went to fucking Epstein's Island. I was like, get the fuck out of here! Are you kidding me?
These girls are very hot.
Do you have any midgets?
Where are the midgets who chew food for you?
Oh,
brilliant. Man. Yeah, I mean, they're so full of shit, but there's no length they won't go to push their agendas and their, you know, the Jesuits they're behind everything horrible that ever happened since
biggest
the 1500s.
telescope in the world is named Lucifer.
I think they own all the telescopes too, and I think
not all
the major ones.
Well, there's a lot of amateur astronomers, and they're going to be the ones that you know help confirm, you know. And I'm not against anybody who wants to research whatever they want, but it's the single-mindedness that gets to me.
And I think it's cool, like you and I have been talking off camera and stuff, like there's a lot of things, I don't disagree or agree, but there's some things we definitely don't see eye to eye on, some cosmology things, and I think it's cool, like we just meet each other and we're like great guys. And
man, it's fun. It's fun to dialogue, and I've learned a lot and I think that's what we're missing in today's world is the true dialectic.
Yeah,
you know,
the art of this discussion is gone where you say, okay, you believe that, I believe this, or you shouldn't really hold any belief, but you should be able to hold two beliefs without having a cognitive dissonance retardation over it. But I think you should be able to say, well, then we could either argue about we don't agree and we could discuss it, or we could talk about what we do kind of agree on, or what can we teach each other.
Right,
and I think we'd have a lot better discourse, you know. I think the world would be better if we could learn that skill again. Yeah. We've got about 2 minutes left. Do you want to tell people like where to reach you, or how to find your stuff, actually? Because I want my Spacebusters people to know you and look into you, because you're cool.
Awesome. Well, let me spell my name, www.mattpresti.com. That's MATT, P as in Paul, RESTI as in Indian.com, mattpresti.com. At the bottom are all my social links, and I've got everything from Facebook through Telegram. Telegram's my primary. That's where I like to hang in my chat room mostly. I love that platform. The group of chatters there are really awesome. And so I've got video productions. You can click on the media page, the music page, 87 music songs. I've written 400 songs, but 87 of them are up on YouTube. Hit the playlist on a long drive. I'm sure you'll like something. I did Knowing the Creator 101, which was 4-part series about exactly what the title is, based on the works of Illuminates and mystics from time immemorial. I did the Secret of Light series, which is 3.5 hours of...
What would be the best of all Russell's work if you were a newbie? Let's say you were like I was when I picked the wrong book. I should have started with something else. What would be the one for a newbie who knows nothing about what we're talking about?
If you're into the more a science-minded person, A New Concept of the Universe would be ideal to start with, and then Atomic Suicide.
Atomic Suicide was my second attempt, and it was way more... I still probably don't even even understand the secret of light totally. You feel kind of a third read,
Right. But it takes a couple years. I mean, if you come out of an academic education, it's going to take you a couple years to unlearn some things, and you have to sit with these concepts for a while.
Yeah.
Like anything, you have to really sit with it. It's literally what he gave to me was learn. He gave me a new language.
Right.
And that language was the ability to also syncretize many different stories from mystics in time immemorial.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to say, I see how they said all mystics are saying the same things, only the words vary.
Right, yeah.
So that was a huge thing for me. But the philosophy is the other half of the message. And the point of both of them together, I would do the Divine Iliad, Message of the Divine Iliad,
Right.
Volume 1 and 2, if you more on the philosophical end, or God Will Work With You But Not For You by Leo.
Yeah.
So
I think like
those
it's
two
funny
books would be a good start.
for me. You know, I like the idea of the still white magnetic light and maybe even the black dielectric, because electricity comes from that. It's not the source. It's the after effect. And the people
Correct.
who try to rule this world call themselves the elect, the electricity.
Yeah.
In other words, they're not from God. They're the after effect, and they
Right.
admit it by their own name by calling themselves the afterbirth.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just a bunch of douchebag placentas.
Yeah, industrial light and magic. Look at this hand while this hand's doing something else. But
Yeah.
with divine teachings like the Russells, and there's many out there. It'll help you to get more toward the fulcrum, you know, and
Right.
live a life of power.
Awesome, brother. Well, thanks for sitting down and
Steve,
talking.
you're
It's
the
been a
best.
pleasure. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go have a more chat. And Patrick Henningsen will be coming up soon,
Yep.
I think, on TNT Radio Live. Your radio all day. TNT.
Peace.